Hello, hello. Welcome to episode number 14 of the Apostate Alliance. I'm John Petersen. My regular co-host, Faye, is not Faye, the most gracious. Faye Rahman is not here with us today. She was feeling a little under the weather, so I've asked the channel's owner, Nakasuchi, to join me today and help me speak with this week's guest, Oz of the Atheist Roundtable. Welcome, Oz.
Good morning, John. How are you?
I'm doing good. And yourself?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on today.
Doc, what's up with you today?
I am still waking up, doing my wake and bake, y'all. So getting high, and this is gonna be fun.
And we're taking a bit of a departure, as we sometimes do, from talking to ex-Muslims. And today we're talking to Oz, who is an ex-Christian. As we normally do every week, we like to talk about news story or an issue from the world of Muslim apostasy. Today, it's a little different. One thing I love about all my new ex-Muslim friends that I've met over the last several months is, yes, they are against the principles of Islam, and yes, they are against Islamic extremism. But if they see where Muslims are being persecuted or treated in a bigoted way, they're the first ones to jump on social media and speak of that. And right now, there's a petition going around about an issue that's been going on for a number of years in China. I don't have the tweet here in front of me right now, but we will get it posted in the video description. But this gentleman on Twitter has a petition going. There's 100,000 signatures there already, and they're trying to force the British government to impose sanctions on China. China has been putting Muslims in what they're calling these re-education camps. They seem to be afraid of any kind of opposing viewpoints or whatever in China. I mean, that's something we all know about. But as far as the Muslims in China, they've set up these re-education camps, and a lot of these people are being put into these camps. They're not being charged with crimes. The things that they're supposedly quote guilty of is attending mosques, having more than 3 children. If they post anything on social media that contains Quranic verses, and millions of people. This started in earnest back in 2017, but there are reports that this has been going on as early as 2014, and they want these people to disavow Islam, pledge to the Chinese government. They want them to learn Mandarin, so it's a horrible thing. And again, of course, we're atheists here. You're joined by 3 atheists today, and a lot of the people on social media that are speaking up for these Muslims are atheists. Okay, so as is the case with a lot of people in the atheist community, they're secular humanists and humanitarians. So even though they're against religion, if they see religious people being persecuted, they want that to stop. So as I said, we will get a link to the petition in the video description. We would ask that you go there and sign the petition. It's real easy to do. We would ask that we'll put the tweets in the video description as well. We would ask that you go to these few tweets that talk about this, and do your best to help out with this. Okay, it doesn't matter whether you're religious or non-religious. You shouldn't have to be persecuted by the government of the country that you live in. And I'd just like to throw it to our guest and my co-host today if they have any comments they'd like to make about that.
Yeah, the only thing I'd say is no matter how outlandish I may think your belief is, or how you approach religion, I think it should be your human right to be able to do that. And actually, it's obviously I didn't know, John, that you were going to talk about that, but when I was on Twitter yesterday, I saw Faye's posted that, and I actually signed it, and I didn't even know you were going to talk about that today. So that's awesome.
Yeah, cool. So you've seen it already, and you already put your name to it. That's awesome.
Yeah, I'll have to check it out and put my name to it. This is something that I've been looking at and thinking about talking on the channel for a while. And it's not just Muslims. It's predominantly Muslims, because China had a bunch of Muslims immigrate into China a few years back. But this is basically Xi's China government. Now Xi has declared himself president for life, and people have been disappearing for, as you said, a couple years now, just disappearing. People don't understand what's happening to their loved ones. They just disappear, and then eventually they'll find out that they've been taken to one of these camps. Now, when you say re-education camps, we are talking concentration camps here. That's exactly what we're talking about. And China's a huge issue when it comes to the Islamic world, just as a whole. So as America has been embroiled in these conflicts in the Middle East with these Muslim countries, China has extended its power base, and China has become that other superpower besides America that countries can turn to. A lot of people are blaming Donald Trump and how, Donald Trump has kind of pushed aside our allies, and that's how China has stepped in. But this has been happening for 10, 20 years now. This has been happening pretty much since 9/11, since we started embroiling ourselves in the Middle East. And one of the good things that Donald Trump is trying to do right now is maybe get us out of Afghanistan, trying to fulfill some campaign promise. So maybe he'll have a chance at re-election. And I think that, there's a lot of issues whether or not we leave. I am against war, so I'm like, we should just leave. I don't care about the issues. But one of those issues is that China or Russia, but probably most likely China, would actually step in and fill our shoes, but not in a war capacity, as an ally capacity. So I mean, this is a problem that is very broad, and really we need good leadership to deal with it. And yeah, I think embargo or placing some kind of penalties on China for these inhumane actions is something that must happen. Now, of course, Trump isn't going to probably do that, but hopefully the next president will.
So yeah, and it's predominantly Uyghur Muslims. The one tweet, the person who is doing the petition, and I'm going to butcher this name, I'm sure, is Majid Nawaz.
One second, John. Sorry. Smokey, you're not hidden. I see you. Stop whining.
Yeah, Smokey's here. Awesome. But anyway, we'll get a copy of this tweet and some other tweets of people that have tweeted out about this. And from what I've read here, it's not just that they're going into camps, but many of them are being killed as well. It's being referred to as a genocide. So apparently, if you don't accept this re-education, then they'll just kill you. So wow. Please check the video description after this and do what you can. And so, of course, today is to talk to the man from the Atheist Roundtable, one of the coolest names of an atheist channel around, for sure. I like that, or as we refer to it in short, T.A.R.T. Get over there and check that show out, too. So welcome, Oz. You are a former Christian, correct?
Yes, I definitely am.
Yeah,
former.
And
I emphasis on former.
Yeah, emphasis on former for all of us. And so, why don't you just take a few minutes and let us know, what your life was like when you were a Christian, and is that it's something that you grew up in? I'm assuming.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. So I was the classic, American story is being born into the religion, born into church from the moment I can recall, having memories, those memories are at church or church activities. My mom was a music pastor, praise and worship pastor for 20 plus years. And so when I say we spent just about every day at church, that's not exaggeration, whether it was rehearsals, she worked there full time, rehearsals, or she had, work stuff to take care of, church services. I remember at one point they had, it was between 6 and 10 week revival where we were at church every single day for that span. So it was, it was indoctrination at its best, as far as just being programmed. So that's really my my childhood memories, and even into I guess my tween years were really spent there, and it was a very what I call now an extreme evangelical household. So it was the speaking in tongues and throwing oil everywhere, and all the people hanging from chandeliers and all all that kind of craziness going on. And I will say that even at a young age, I used to question my mom, on certain things. Like, Mom, what about this? Just some little things that would stick out. And then, being young and impressionable, it was one of those things that I just, as soon as she said, well, just you have to take it on faith, honey, you gotta believe it on faith, and that's what we do as Christians. That's what we do as a family. So until I got to an age where I could really start putting two and two together, that's just how I took it. And so at about 14, 15 years old, my parents divorced, and that's when I went on a little rebellious slide there. And I'd say about 10 years, I battled with drug addiction, drank heavy, was selling drugs, all the stuff a young knucklehead does that wants to be, rebellious. And then finally I was in a car accident in 2003, if I remember correctly, 2002, 2003. And I actually died twice in the accident, and they had to resuscitate me, coded out. I was gone. And of course, my family and friends come rushing to the ICU and praying for me and telling me that the only reason I'm still alive now is because God has a purpose for my life, and that's the only reason I'm still here. So again, that's something that traumatic where you were gone twice. You start thinking, well, maybe they're right, and maybe I should reconsider this God thing again, and try it. So I did, but now I come into it as an adult, and I try to, and I'm going through it, and I was the best Christian that I knew how to be. Right. And I did everything Romans says, believe in your heart, confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord, and you were saved. I did all that. And I really did believe that there was a God. And I can't really pinpoint like a pivotal moment other than I played drums at the church. My brother's a pastor still. And I played drums at his church. And one of the Sundays I wasn't playing, I was just sitting or standing at my seat. And I started listening to the words of the music, the songs. And then I started listening to his message, and it hit me that at, 30 something years old, I've never actually even read this book with my own perspective. I've always read this book with the implications or the leading of a pastor or a minister or my parents. And that was kind of my aha moment. Like, hold on a minute. And then the funny part of it is that I like to tell is that day when I got home, I opened my Bible, and the way I did it was, okay, I'm going to read this book like I just went and rented this from the library. I'm not going to read it with any pre-notions, any pre-understanding. And I couldn't even get through Genesis. And I'm like, oh my God, I actually believe this stuff for 30 something years. Are you kidding me? And it was like, Genesis, talking snakes. Like, oh, hold on. I've owned snakes. I love reptiles. My snakes don't talk. And then there's a bush that just spontaneously combusts and talks. Like, I'm really believing this stuff, so, and that's not even me trying to make fun of it or anything like that. But when you take all of those preloaded lenses or whatever off of it, and you read it like that, as adults, we don't believe that,
Yeah.
So that's what it looked like. And it was I would say it was a 2-year process for me to go from Christian to then agnostic, where it's like, okay, maybe there's a God out there. I just don't believe it's the Bible God. I don't think it's the Christian God. Then the more I'm researching, studying, I'm getting in YouTube, and I'm a big nerd. I read and study everything, and I start actually researching this because I was just taught the atheists were just giant know-it-all assholes that are devils and going to hell. That's all I was ever told, And I start digging into this, and I'm like, actually these people are cool as shit. And I'm not agnostic. I'm actually an atheist because there is no evidence. I lack belief. Like I don't believe that this stuff is real. And then there was that moment, and from there, the kind of the flood of emotions were, I was excited because now I didn't feel like I had to live in this fishbowl anymore, where people, growing up in a family, and still my brother being a pastor and me being in ministry with him, everybody watching and listening to everything you do, and you almost have to be damn near perfect to keep everybody happy, and so the fishbowl's gone, the expectations are gone. But I was pissed because I was like, how did y'all lie to me for 30 something years? Now I'm shitty because you wasted 30 something years of my life, but that's the story. And that's long, but that's actually
that's a story we've heard a lot, that reading the Bible converts a lot of Christians to atheism.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, our guest next week, we're going to be talking with Kyle Curtis, formerly of the Non Sequitur Show, and the reason I thought to ask him is he often tells a story about how somebody had mentioned the slavery in the Bible when he was a Christian, and they said, and he said, there's no slavery in the Bible, and then they kept telling him, yeah, there is, and then so he finally went and read about it in the Bible, and that was the beginning of the end for him. So,
well, yeah, I'm doing my Bible is Stupid series where I'm actually reading the Bible minus all of those biases he was talking about. I've read the Bible beginning to end 9 different times, and 8 of those times I read it as a Christian. I read it with preachers telling me it means this, or these preconceived notions that these supernatural miracles or whatever they are in the Bible actually happen. And you go into it with that notion that all of this is true, and you're not really reading how untrue it actually is. So when I'm reading the Bible now, and I'm just giving, I'm putting the words up and I'm giving my unfiltered interpretation of what it's saying. And we're doing Genesis right now, and you're right, it's so unbelievable. It's like, how does anybody believe this? Christians get really angry at that. They want me to have that Christian interpretation put into those videos, even though I'm an atheist. I mean, I'm going to give you my perspective on it, but no, I can't do that. I need to go back to my Christianity and somehow include that latent Christianity in my interpretations of this ancient book. No, I'm sorry, Smokey. I'm not going to do that. As atheist, I think the thing that makes the most atheist is actually reading that Bible and having your eyes opened up to it. And I think your story was a pretty good example of that.
So you mentioned that your brother is he still a pastor?
Oh, 100%. He actually just 2 or 3 Sundays ago, I wasn't there, obviously, but somebody told me about it, and I went and pulled it up on his website, and I actually I clipped it out. But he used me verbally as a prop in his altar call for people to get saved, and talked about how I'd turned my back on God and so on and so forth. So yeah, he's still very much a pastor. And for the record, because he listens to a lot of my stuff, him and I have a great relationship, and we actually have the difficult conversations often. And I respect the hell out of him for that. But do I still believe that his beliefs and everything are outlandish? Absolutely.
And what's it like with the rest of your family? Do you get any blowback from any of your former family and friends that were Christians?
Yeah. So there's a lot of passive aggressiveness, and basically suggestions or subtle remarks of me going to hell, and that God has too much planned for my life to be wasting these years doing the devil's work. I've actually had received private messages saying that they were praying for some really disgusting things to happen to me in order to bring me to the light. to put darkness in my life to bring me to the light. So, I've lost some relationships. Actually, when I tell people when I walked away from the faith, from the church, and this is still accurate to this day. My brother and I obviously talk, but out of, he's got hundreds of people that go to that church. And at the time, my ex-wife and I oversaw the small groups. So we were very, very intertwined into the people, of the church. They knew us, we knew them. I can tell you what, not one of them ever followed up with me. Once I left, didn't contact me, anything like, and people will say, well, oh, that's why you don't go to church. It's not because you lack belief, it's because you're pissed at Christians. No, actually, I did it because I lack belief, but they just confirmed to me that the whole relationship, brotherhood, sisterhood is all bullshit.
Well, yeah, I think that happens a lot. Like, I think a lot of us, especially if you're coming into agnosticism or atheism, because you actually read the Bible and your eyes are open, you're not going into that. You might have a little anger because you realize that you've been lied to your whole life, but we're usually pretty quick to realize that they were lied to too. So it wasn't like they were intentionally lying to us. It's just this cycle of lying. But we don't usually go into it with this animosity or anger towards Christianity or Christians individually. It's the reaction we get when we actually start talking about who we are now. Their reaction to us really spurns our reaction to them. And we really have, I think it's very human. If you get attacked personally by anybody, family or anybody, just based upon your belief system, that you're going to react and you're going to defend yourself and you're going to attack back. And I think that's where a lot of this angry atheist phase comes from, is how we're treated when we come out of that closet and say, hey, no, this is who I am now. Please respect me. And they're just not willing to do so.
Well, you can almost liken it to when you first found out Santa Claus wasn't real, and you're pissed at your parents, And,
I was pissed as hell. Absolutely.
So, and it's funny too. You mentioned how some of your former Christian friends, bring up Satan, and you're just being influenced by Satan. That always amazes me, because here we are telling folks we don't believe in supernatural beings, but you must be worshiping Satan. I mean, well, no, that's another supernatural being. And, as far as I'm concerned, Satan's the good guy in the Bible. I don't know how people read the Bible and come out of that thinking that God's supposedly the good guy.
Yeah, I'm really still trying to find verses where it really portrays Satan as this horrible, anti-protagonist character. And every time I've read the Bible, Yahweh's been that antagonist. There's really not a protagonist, but Yahweh's definitely the antagonist.
I mean, yeah. I don't remember where I first heard this, but there was some atheist that had said one time that, Satan was an angel and he knew God, and then like I'm sure that, people have told all of us at one time around, well, you really didn't know God. That's why you left. You need to get to know him. Well, wait a minute. Here, Satan knew God better than anybody, was at his right hand, and he turned his back on God. So,
yeah, John, you just highlighted my two things that. The two things that still irk me in that conversation is, one, well, you were never really a Christian. You can't falsify that, so just stop. Just shut up there. Don't you can't tell me I wasn't a real Christian. Like you don't know that. And I hear that all the time. And then the other one, and I can kind of laugh it off now, but especially when I first deconverted, the threats of hell and eternal damnation and torment. Just being completely transparent, and I've shared this on our channel, plenty of times, but I literally, part of my therapy and talking to my therapist was to get that out of my brain. Like I was terrified. I still thought about that at night. What if I die in my sleep and there is a hell? Like it's and I'm past it now. But so when people do that, and until you deconvert and you step away from that, you don't realize the impact that has on stress levels and your anxiety. If you struggle with anxiety, things like that, it's so much bigger than just a way to threaten people.
Well, and I've talked to many an atheist who have gone through that same experience of leaving the faith, but then still having problems, dealing with the idea of hell, and doubting their decision of leaving faith because of this concept of hell and of, eternal damnation and all that. It's really to reduce it to this, but it's kind of crazy, but really it's just some diabolical marketing scheme that is, put in place by those folks that believe in religion, and like Knox said earlier, not that they maybe originally came up with them themselves. They were just had their minds polluted just like everybody else. And, hey, follow this religion or you're going to burn in a lake of fire, or you're going to, suffer some type of eternal torture. It's basically a marketing thing, it's like,
it's like a childhood indoctrination Ponzi scheme or some shit. Like the whole intent is you hit them when they're young. So by the time they grow up, they've heard it throughout most of their growing years, to where they're developing into the men or women that they're going to be. And once that childhood indoctrination is firmly set in, I think we all know it's so hard to go against it. Like I catch myself doing shit that I was taught as a child all the time, and it's just like, wow, it's really hard to break that childhood indoctrination, whatever it is, just your atmosphere as a child. It's really hard to break that. So, and I've literally seen a lot of Christians talk about that and how it's so important to get children as young as possible into the church, because they understand what they're doing, and they understand that if you get them young, then you're going to have them when they're older. And it's this cycle that just goes generation after generation after generation, to where you're literally giving your children false beliefs, false ideals, but you don't see it because you were indoctrinated that way as a child yourself.
Correct. Yeah. Think about this. When I say like extreme radical evangelical Christianity, and I pull no punches. It was what you see on TV that people make fun of. It was the crazy shit. In our house, there were just things that you did not get to watch, listen to. That was the devil's music, devil movie, devil, right? And I remember as a young kid, it was okay for me to see pictures or see a movie or even cartoons of human beings getting thrown into this lake of fire and burning, and that was their penalty for not serving this God. That was okay, but I couldn't watch freaking Freddy Krueger. That made no. Now that I'm an adult, that makes no sense to me. This guy's made up, and he goes around slashing people with knives on his hands. But this is made up over here, and we're throwing human beings into an eternal hell. But because this fits your narrative that you want to program me with, it's okay for me to watch or listen to that, but I can't watch Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah, and your parents would be right there beside you, comforting you with Nightmare on Elm Street. Oh, this isn't real. This is Hollywood. That's fake blood. Don't take it real. But with hell, your parents are beside you saying, this is real and you better behave or you're going to hell. I mean, it's really, I don't know what I did.
Yeah, it's crazy. And again, because my family actually does as crazy as I believe their worldview, religious views are. I love them and respect them, and I don't want them to ever think I'm talking shit. But yeah, that's literally what it was. Freddy Krueger's. Don't be scared, son. That none of that's real. But this hell, you will go there.
It's
if
real.
You don't do what we tell you.
Well, and hell that was created by our all-loving God too, which that was always a disconnect too. Like he loves you, and everything he does is for you. And here he creates, love me or go to hell and burn for eternity. So,
yeah, and it should be easy if you're told that your whole life to go read the Bible, especially Genesis, and look at the parts where God is literally saying he hates all of mankind, that mankind is inherently evil, and then it should be easy to dispel that notion, but it's not. It's they can go in the face of what their own text and their own God tells them.
Yeah, Yep. And along those lines, as far as the programming and things like that, have you guys watched the YouTube movie documentary "Kidnapped for Christ"?
No.
No, I have heard of that, but no, I haven't watched it yet.
If and especially coming out of Christianity, like we have, and I actually now when I do have conversations with Christians, I challenge them to go watch it because if I was still a believer, it would have rattled me. It would have shook me. So I would encourage you to go watch it and then put that in front of your Christian friends because it is it's disgusting what they do to these kids. But if it doesn't start to make you think about what religion is as an organization and what they do and what what their tactics are, I don't know what else to put in front of you.
So, so you start reading the Bible with an open mind, rather than with the indoctrination that you'd been filled with in your previous readings of the Bible. And so you go through the Bible, you decide you can't believe this stuff anymore. Where did you go from there when you first realized you couldn't believe it anymore?
Luckily, my career, I work a lot of hours, so I just worked more, and I have a lot of windshield time, and I use that time studying and learning and listening and doing that, and just making sure that I was comfortable with this decision that I was making, and that it was the right one, for me, and so it went literally, and it was cold turkey for me. I know a lot of people, they kind of slowly exit church. I just stopped. I was like, I'm not, until I.
So you didn't have a time where you were closeted from people. You just boom, you were out of it, huh?
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah. It was like I said, there was a year, 2 year stretch where I was questioning things, but it wasn't like I don't believe anymore. But as soon as it was like, all right, I just don't believe in this God anymore. It was done. I had no desire to be there.
Yeah, you mentioned the time that you put in studying and researching, and I do that too. And the thing that I've noticed with my family members, the Christian family members, but all of them really, even when it comes to like politics, is I'll spend all of this time researching, like far more time, like sometimes like it's like almost like I'm back in college, that I put such a load on myself trying to learn more and understand more, have a better understanding. Philosophy is something that I've spent a lot of time, and my family knows this, right? They know this about me. They know that I actually take the time to read and research and do my homework, and yet they still they will believe their opinions over an educated argument that I could give to them. It's almost like they understand that, yes, he spends a lot of time reading a book or reading books or studying, but he's still an atheist and he doesn't have God in his heart. So I can't trust him when he's talking to me about these things. And I just find that to be like really disheartening. It's like you guys literally, all your research is watching CNN, Fox, whatever media that you take in and absorb. And you're not going to trust the guy that literally spends 5-6 hours a day reading stuff. You're just going to completely dismiss that. I found that in my experience. Have you found that in your experience? Maybe even especially with your brother, who's a pastor. Like, does he know that you spend all of this extra, this time researching, and yet, I'm going to just kind of dismiss what you're saying?
I would say at first it was. I think he thought that maybe it was just this phase, and maybe I was angry and I'd come back. But now when we have these conversations, he does take me serious now, because you'll know what I mean when I say this. The time and energy investment into studying and gaining knowledge and understanding is now it's showing its fruit, so to speak. And he hears it in my conversation with him, where it's like, well, no, you can't just tell me faith anymore, because I can help you break faith down. So once we get past faith, what is it that you actually believe in and why? And then that's where just about any Christian you talk to, that's where they're gonna get stuck, because we don't have that evidence, right? And so to answer your question, yes, I've got that, and not just from him, other ones that think, well, he just knows the Bible, and he's not going to know how to argue his point as a skeptic or an atheist now. And then we get in the conversation, and they're like, oh man, now he knows the Bible and he's actually learned a decent argument, I'm not talking to him anymore.
Yeah. Stay away from that guy.
Let me ask you. So, you said it was just like a switch. You know, you went through like a few years of looking into it, but then when you finally decided, yeah, I can't believe in this God anymore. Did you have a phase where you looked into other religious traditions looking for answers, or was it just, I can't believe in any gods anymore?
I literally went, and part of this is probably because of my personality profile. I'm 0 to 100 and I'm black and white. In my life, I just don't have a lot of gray areas. And I know sometimes they're necessary in life, but I try to avoid them as much as possible. But when I got to that point, it was like, okay, well, if this God isn't real, it's highly unlikely that any of the other guys, or gods are real. So that's why, if we're going to start slapping all these other sub labels onto it, why I say agnostic, atheist. Yeah, that's what you can call me, because maybe it is. And if you can show me, I'll believe it. Probably still won't serve him, but I'll agree that he's real. But no, I didn't look into any type of spirituality or anything like that.
Yeah, I agree with that. I've come to call myself an agnostic atheist as well, because if there's a God out there, it's probably not anything like humans can imagine or try to describe. It's going to be something way beyond us, and I don't even think it really matters, right? Such a being of such a vast universe isn't going to care what these walking atoms are doing on this one atom of a planet in the vast universe that we live in. So yeah, I'm right there with you. I used to be staunch anti-theist, but just considering it, looking at my own positions, like, I don't know. I'm not going to be a Christian and pretend to know. I'm gonna just say I don't believe in your Christian God.
And that's the one thing and I try to have, even on the round table, I try to have everything be more discussion based. Don't get me wrong, I love listening to debates. I love it. But as far as my communication style, I'm better with the open, conversation and just going through the epistemic questions and things like that. But when you get down to the labels of anti-theist, atheist, agnostic, I totally agree. Not the last thing I wanted to do was say, well, I'm a skeptic, but now I'm claiming absolute knowledge that there is no God. I think that's being dishonest. So I think the best thing we can do as atheists is say we don't, we don't believe, we don't think there's a reason to believe, but we're open to you showing us evidence, and when you do, we'll make sure you get the Nobel Peace Prize.
I mean, that's too, is when you because here's the thing: the proposition that theists try and throw up is, "We'll prove there is no God." Well, that's an unfalsifiable proposition. I mean, you can't search the entirety of the universe and prove that this supernatural being doesn't exist, because he could use his powers to hide from you for forever. But the one thing about there being a God is that he could prove it tomorrow. Just by revealing himself to all of us. But,
all you got to do is come and join this program right now, and we'll all start believing.
So how long have you been an atheist now, Oz?
Just about 3 years.
And then at what point, for lack of a better term, because now you're in the community, you've got your channel, you've got your show, the Atheist Roundtable. How long was it after becoming an atheist that you started participating or became more active, as an atheist?
Actually, once I felt like I could assemble even a fraction of an argument against a God claim and or religious views, I jumped on social media. It started a little tiny YouTube channel. And I dug right in, and people say, well, why, if you don't believe in this God, why waste your time, talking about it? And, when we start talking about, religious trauma, and the things that you don't even realize, the damage that you don't even realize was done until you leave, that's what I'm passionate about. I want to get down to the God claims, not to disprove your God. It's to help you find more true things than not. And if you've been where I've been, help you find not just a pathway to truth, but to find, healing and happiness and true fulfillment in your life, minus this fictitious construct that religion puts around it. You have to do these things and have this God in order for you to truly be happy. So to answer your question, I jumped right in, basically.
Well, you did say earlier you're a black and white,
Very much.
on or off kind of person, so that makes a lot of sense. So you've got your channel now. I've noticed on your channel, and correct me if I'm wrong, I hope I'm not confusing your channel with somebody else's, but you guys don't just necessarily talk all the atheists. I think I noticed you have some Christians on and talk to them.
Yeah, actually, we've had a week or two of atheist guests, but our number one goal is to probably have 80-90% theists on the show. And what we want to do is provide a platform where Christians can come on and understand that we are going to have a conversation. Now, when we get to the why, it could get passionate, and it could get, I guess heated, we're having that, but it's never going to be disrespectful and, hey, shut the hell up and you're an idiot because you believe in a God. No, we're going to keep it respectful. We're not going to attack the human, the person, but we are going to go all out on your God claim and your belief. And we've actually had a pastor on, I think we had a youth pastor on, and after we asked them some really difficult questions, but guess what? They loved it. They loved that they got challenged and then had to go back and either start studying again or email us back and say, okay, hey, I looked into this, what's your stance on this? So it's been great. But yeah, the main focus is trying to have theists of any religion or belief on there.
Do you sometimes feel when you do talk to Christians that they are giving you the time of day, they're agreeing to participate because in the back of their head they think maybe they can proselytize to you and maybe change your mind back to believing in religion?
Absolutely. I think without being in their brain, I can't prove this. So being a proper skeptic here, I can't show evidence for this, but I would say, if we have 10 guests that are theists, probably, 7 or 8 of them come in with I'm going to change these folks' minds.
I would just be careful and not draw the flies like I have seemed to. Because there's plenty of Christians out there that I think really will have a conversation with you, and then there's a lot of trolls. I would beware the trolls. I know a couple people in the chat are saying that you might be just a little bit low. Could you turn up your volume just if possible, just a little bit? Because I think we hear you fine, but they're saying that they can't.
Yep, and I'll move it a little closer too. So,
hey, I got to step away for a minute, Knox. So keep the conversation going here with us.
Oh yeah, I was just commenting in the side chat for them about that. But I try to do that myself, and I think it's the nature of just the way that I am and some of my incendiary comments, especially some of my edited videos. I attracted the flies. And it took me a long time to get past that and start getting to the actual meat, serious conversations. And I know that there's plenty of Christians out there willing to have them. So I would just avoid Jesus is Lord and people like that, because their whole intention is just to come on, call you a bunch of baby killers and do whatever they can to rile you up instead of actually have a conversation.
Yeah, and the one thing that I make sure I do with anybody that that we invite on or contacts us and wants to be on is I basically put them through a vetting process, so I can gauge the true interest and are we going to have a serious conversation and a productive conversation, and if I don't feel like that's the case, we are not going to waste your time talking to people that don't want to take it serious.
Yeah. Wow, that's weird. StreamYard is so weird. It just blows my mind sometimes. And I wish I would have done that. And I like crawling around in the mud. I know somebody was like, "Do you think Smokey will ever come on?" I've offered him to come on, and he's scared. But most Christians, I think, aren't. or at least most of the YouTube Christians aren't afraid to come on and have a serious conversation with you. And yeah, I wish I would have really vetted some of the people that I talked to a little bit more when I first started, because you roll around in the mud, you're going to draw the rest of the flies to you. And I did. I got all of the trolls, and it literally took John having to do some digging and talking to Dragnot and other people from the old school to get serious, legitimate Christians on to talk philosophy and have serious conversations instead of just dumpster fire night after night.
And you know, not to be honest, just when I started getting my feet wet, we started meeting some of the folks in the community. I will say, I'm one, when somebody gives me advice, I always, I've always said sometimes experience can be the teacher of fools. And I've had many people tell me the same thing that you just said. You use different verbiage, but they said, just stay away from these conversations, or be careful of this. And I said, I was, in my mind, I'm like, okay, if they've already been there and done that, I'm not going to do that. So that's why I'm very careful of what kind of conversations I get that I attach my name or the round table's name to, because I don't want to attract that. I don't have time for that, and it's just gonna piss me off.
Yeah, I have very little time to catch actual atheist content. I can catch some scholar fiction sometimes. I'll catch a modern day debate, but I have actually made some time and checked out a couple of your roundtables, and you put on a really good show. And yeah, I think that I think that your show is going to draw more serious Christians that are willing to really come on and have a conversation, as opposed to the way I went about things. So I think you're already on the right foot, and you're heading in the right direction.
No, yeah, thank you. Yeah, and
without a doubt.
And just real quick, because I always say there's power, there's power in numbers. And just quick shout out, I got 4 other guys that work right beside me, on that show. So Pasta and Jesus Mike, Jeff, and Murder Shed Steve. I wouldn't be sitting here. We wouldn't have this channel if it wasn't for those guys. So just shout out to the team.
Yeah. It helps having good people around you, and yeah, I think you guys are doing some really good work. I'm excited for you, and I hope that you just grow and grow and grow, because I think you offer a good quality conversation.
Thank you.
And we will get a link to the Atheist Roundtable channel in the description, and please go over there and sub. I just as an aside, really quick, I see your troll left there, Knock. Smokey departed, huh?
I haven't added him, so he could just be lurking now. But yeah, he's probably streaming about me.
No, he did post a while back later or something.
Yeah, he's probably streaming now about me, because I'm so pretty.
Dude, the other day after you guys interacted, he went live for 4 hours, man. Like he was.
Yeah.
He mind fucked them good.
I know. I had somebody give me a dose of reality last night when I was trolling. They're like, "Why are you feeding this troll?" And I'm like, "You're right. I'm going to bed."
I mean, the reason I bring it up too is because I was going to mention to Oz that what started all this with him is that he now is accusing Knock of being a racist, because supposedly at one point in one of his videos or on a stream or something, Knock had said something about the people that wrote the Bible were a bunch of ancient goat fuckers. And Smokey took that as an affront to all Jewish people, and myself and other people have tried to explain to him, well, no, that what did Knox say about any race or ethnicity, entire ethnicity of people? He's talking about a very specific group, the people that wrote the Bible, something that he thinks is fictional and stupid. And, so calling them goat fuckers, and he was doing that hyperbolically, making a joke. That's not racist. But now he's going around saying that Nakasuchi's a racist, and people like me and the people in the audience that support Nakasuchi, we're racist by osmosis.
Yeah, and it's a stupid thing, and I should really stop saying stupid stuff like that. But at the same time, I just have to say that that claim has more legitimacy than the God claim. There's more possibility that at least one of those Bible writers fuck some sheep.
As absurd, the higher probability is that than a God.
But I should stop saying such incendiary things. I mean, I'm really trying to work on that about myself. But Christians, and you probably had the same problem, because I think that just being an atheist kind of offends their sensibilities. So even if you could be the nicest atheist in the world, I think Ethan's going to learn this. Your friendly neighborhood atheist, super nice guy, and has a really super nice approach. They're not going to really care too much because they're so offended by your sensibility. So I found that, if you approach me with respect, I will give it to you, and we can actually form a really good friendship. I did it with Justin, that Christian vlogger. But if you really come at me in a way that's just disrespectful and just disregarding me, then really it's gloves off and game on. And really I should be the bigger man. And that's something that I'm going to really try to work on, especially if I'm trolling in side chats. But maybe you've kind of run across that already, is that no matter what approach you take, and there are definitely better approaches than the next, but generally Christianity is going to view you as that atheist and just put you in the enemy mode pretty much no matter what.
Yeah, and I think it's funny that it's in my my experience, whether it's on the show or just in my personal life, it's typically and actually Pasta has really helped me a lot with this, because I had my angry atheist stage was pretty brief, thanks to meeting Pasta, but I've kind of coined it that I out-Christian the Christians. And when they come at me sideways, whether it's verbally or trolling me online, or just like I said in my everyday life, I use the back door, and I literally kill them with love and kindness, and they hate it. They hate that I won't respond like they think an atheist should respond, which is attacking them and cussing them out and telling them they're stupid and all that. So I've kind of changed, and all this is still recent for me. But I've kind of changed the way I even approach that online, where it's like I'm not going to give you that. Number one, I'm going to give you that energy because my time's too valuable, and I'm not going to give you the real estate in my brain that's even more valuable. I'm not going to give that up because that's very, very precious and very, very expensive real estate. So I'm going to let that mental real estate be taken up by things that actually matter to me. And you being a troll or just an assumptive Christian that doesn't want to have a real conversation with me, then this doesn't matter to me. I'm moving on, and I'm going to invest over here.
And that approach, I believe, is better. John, you probably got a question, but I think that both approaches are needed. Sometimes you just really need to tell a stupid person that they're stupid. But I found, like, when I went into that room with Smokey, and I had it in my head that I was going to stay cool. I wasn't going to lose my cool. I did intentionally, like, let me fucking speak, raise my voice once, and then I brought it back down. But it was very intentional, and it was very even keel. You do actually have a better chance of showing truly what normalizing atheism would look like, because generally I think atheists, we tried to explain this to several of my trolls, is I stand for your equality too. I think that you should have the right to think whatever you want about me, to slander me even, so long as it's not going to like a legal area, but do say whatever you want about me. I think that you have that right. I'm not trying to take that right away from you, but they think that we are. And it's kind of, it's better to be able to expose them and show yourself just to be a good person. And I found that it's almost makes it very easy if you just go in there and kind of give the opposite reaction of what they're going to expect from you, because it's going to just throw them off and they're not going to know how to react to it. And then you do end up showing, hey, we're people, we're good people. We can be better people than you claim to be. And you don't even have to say it. It just shows.
Yeah. And I do want to say this because I want to make sure, being completely honest, please understand that I am still a grown ass man and I still get passionate. And
oh yeah.
If you're coming, sideways and it's disrespectful, they're personal attacks, or we're trying to assassinate somebody's character, I will come up for air. But I think that's separate from, just the I guess the trolling and trying to instigate and start stuff like that. I pay that no mind, and I actually like I said, kind of reverse troll them where they don't even know what to say, because I'm like, oh, I love you so much.
When you talk about Knock alluded to it that that maybe not as a group, but atheists can be considered better, as far as morally speaking, because now all three of us, we're choosing the good things that we do and the bad things that we do, just because we're deciding what is good and bad, as opposed to people that believe in God are doing good things because they feel obligated to do them, or they have that idea in their head that they're being moral because of their belief in God. I've often said that if religion never existed, there would still be people in the world doing good for others, because like even the people that go to church and do good works and they give all the credit to their belief in God for doing that, it's really because of who they are inside, and they're just giving the credit to the wrong thing,
or they could be doing immoral things and thinking it moral. Like there's this vast majority of evangelical Christianity that still support to this day having those brown children still locked in those cages on the southern border, and it just I don't know, it overwhelms me, because like when I remember being a Christian, and that was the whole thing, is love thy neighbor, and you at least told yourself that you are a person of love. But it's really easy for them, I think, to follow the herd and forget all of that. And I think that the immigration policy and especially those concentration camps on the southern border, children are still in those in the midst of this corona pandemic, and they don't care about that. They think it's absolutely fine. And I believe it comes from a place where sometimes you can do the wrong thing, but the Bible tells you it's right, or your church tells you it's right. And I don't know. And then when somebody like me would speak out against that, well, I'm automatically wrong. You're not even taking the time to stop to think about how you might be wrong in your actions.
Yeah. I was thinking about this the other day. I was researching some national statistics just on religions and beliefs and things. And, I think we're up to 4.5% as far as non-believers or, atheists. And I was thinking, I wonder how much higher that number would be if all those people that are currently going to church every single Sunday or Wednesday or Thursday, if we could remove the ultimatum of do this or go to hell, because that's usually the hang up. That's usually the hang up, is that fear. And if we could remove that from their brain, like reach in there and remove that from their brain, how many more would be there? And that's a hypothetical question, obviously, but I was thinking about that because it's so ingrained. I would love to be able to zap their brain and take it out.
And you know what? In addition to that, I mean, I never really considered that. Like if you could just magically snap your fingers and there's no worry of hell. But also, there's probably tens of thousands of people or more, maybe millions or hundreds of thousands that, there's 2.2 billion Christians on the planet. How many of those people are going to church every week that are already closeted, that don't believe? I mean, that are just afraid of the repercussions from, their sphere of influence.
I personally know. Go ahead, John. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
You've got, I forget the exact name of it. Maybe one of you know, but there is an organization out there for preachers that have become atheists. And I've heard many a story of preachers who stopped believing and continued to preach for years before they came out of the closet. But go ahead, Mark.
Well, that's an important point, because I've heard those stories too. But also, like, I know 4 people personally who are atheist or agnostic, but they don't talk about it, and they don't even talk about it with me, because I think they're so worried about losing their position in society that they have worked their entire lives to get to, that if they were to talk about what they really believe, then they'd lose all of that. And I think that that's a huge issue too. I think our numbers are actually a lot bigger. It's just people don't say it. They're so used to checking yes when it comes to that religious box.
Yeah, we the roundtable team, we've had that conversation many times when it comes to people that are, full-time ministry, and not only is that their faith, their belief, but it's also their livelihood and their lifestyle depends on it. That you know it's pretty tough to say, well, I don't believe in this God anymore, so here, take my income, take my house, take my everything. So yeah, that's absolutely has to be I'm not in that position, but that has to be a hang up. It has to be.
Well, yeah, and I would hope that, like, the sane priest in the Catholic Church that sees what has happened in the Catholic Church publicly over the last. I mean, it's been happening since its inception, but it's really been in the public eye for, I'd say, probably 100 years. That there's plenty probably of Catholic priests that no longer believe in that Catholic ideology at all because of the corruption that they've seen and the crimes that they've seen. But yet you're right. It's their livelihood. It's the only life they know. And how hard would it be to walk away from that? You don't have training and experience in anything else.
Yeah. I mean, livelihood, lifestyle, and then if you are, a person, an individual of character, and you do value how people see you and perceive you, and that means something. Usually, not all the time, but usually people that are in the ministry and they're actually doing it because they feel like they're doing the right thing. They do value those things. Well, now you're going to come out and tell the whole world. Actually, you know what? For the last 10 years, however long my church has been open, for the last 10 years, I've been lying to you. And congratulations, you can come with me or go find a new church. It's like you're literally stripping yourself of everything.
Yeah, and go ahead, John. I've talked a lot.
Well, I just said without a doubt. I mean, like you said it a few minutes ago, Oz, that as far as like any polls and stuff you see, I've seen different polls where it's 5 to 10%, might identify as atheist or agnostic. Or if you even with the people that are still in the closet, we're a minority, and especially here in America, we're so entrenched in Christianity that for a lot of people, it is hard to come out and say, "Hey, I don't believe anymore," because of the stigma attached to it, because of they don't want to lose their friends and family, or as you were speaking to Oz, in the case of a preacher, you'd be losing your livelihood. I mean, if you're an individual who grew up in the church and you moved right from childhood into adulthood and was serving the church your whole life, and then all of a sudden you don't believe, that's got to be a very scary thing.
Yeah. And, the one thing that I was talking to Jesus Mike about when I took a trip down to Georgia and met up with the guys down there. But we were talking, and through the deconversion process, one of the things that I guess my analysis of my experience, I should say, that is, it was like a breakup when it came to my quote unquote relationship with God. Because think about it, my time, my energy, my blood, sweat, and tears was poured into this relationship, right? This belief, this faith, and now all of a sudden, it's gone. Just like if I was, my fiance, if I came home and she was gone tomorrow, when I got home from work, and I lost that relationship, it'd be like, okay, now what do I do? What's next? So there was almost that grieving process, as well. And I think there's a lot of people that fear that loneliness. Even if you can be married and have the best friends in the world, but you strip something out that you've poured that much of your lifetime into and that much energy, there's for a time, there's a bit of kind of emptiness and loneliness, and you're like, okay, how do I fill that gap in my life? And that's part of what the roundtable has been for me too, is finding something to do, something positive. But yeah, I don't think we talk about that probably enough either, is that loneliness, feeling through the deconversion process.
Yeah, I've tried to make several videos to that, and I think I need to be more conscious of that myself, because it is very lonely sometimes to be an atheist. You don't have people that are similar around you. Now, I'm jealous of people that do, like in real life. I think that this community here, this internet thing has really allowed us to be able to connect in a way that we weren't before, because I don't really, like I said, I know 4 people, but they don't talk about it. I can't go to them and talk about being an atheist with them. I have nobody in real life that I can really do that. And it is very lonely. And I've made videos to it, but I think it's something that I should really be more conscious of, is speaking to those people that don't have anybody speaking to them and telling them that they're not alone.
You know, I've often said in these streams that I only encounter atheists online. I mean, in the real world, like, everybody in my family still believes in God, and, any of the people around me, acquaintances or whatever, they believe in God, or at least that's how they're identifying, to me. So this internet is a really good thing. I mean, I know atheists, and I'm sure you guys as well, from all over the world now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, and the internet has been a lifesaver, in some sense for me, because I have to say the one thing, because it's a subtopic of it, but while I was going through that deconversion process and I was walking away, my now ex-wife just up and left me, filed for divorce. So literally I lost everything, lost 2 relationships really. And as I was going through that, so I lost all my Christian friends, my wife. Now this God that I thought exists isn't there for me, like I thought he was. And I'd met my fiance, and now I am very fortunate because she's an atheist. So we have a lot of great conversations, and I do have that real life, person to person relationship. But like Pasta, him and I met via TikTok, and he didn't know this at the time. And actually just recently, he and I were talking with somebody else, and I'd brought it up, but I was in such a, depressed, lonely, just, I didn't really care if I woke up in the morning. I was just in that place where it's just like, I don't have anything. I don't feel like doing this anymore. And he, at the time, was very, very heavy into atheist satire. And he is hilarious. If you're on TikTok, go check him out, Pasta Mike. It's hilarious. But I would go home after work, and I was like, I just need to laugh, and I need to smile, and I need to feel good because I'm just pissed. And I'd go sit on my porch, smoke a cigarette, have a drink, and I'd listen to Pasta. And then, the rest is history. He, him and I grew closer as friends. We met the other guys. Now here we are. But the reason I say all that long story is it wasn't for the internet. Not only would we not, have the roundtable team and us doing that together, but I wouldn't have these friends. Like I flew down to Georgia so I could meet these guys in person. Like they are my friends, and if it wasn't for the good old interwebs, we wouldn't have that.
Yeah. Well, and that's how I met Nakasuchi, through this community right on this YouTube here. And I remember the first time, I found his channel through some other atheist channel that mentioned him, and came over and watched him, and then asked one day if I could come on the stream, and he automatically said, yeah, sure, come on. And I guess the rest is history. But and it's just amazing to me, that I've gotten to know a lot of these ex-Muslims that, through my friendship with Faye. And so now, I mean, there might not be a country on the planet where I don't know somebody, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I think that, and what you and Faye are doing here, for one, I feel like I'm lucky to have both of you on here doing what you're doing with this show. And, I just, despite the demonetization, we'll figure all of that out. I think that this show is going to grow, but I would like to speak to all of the atheists, quote unquote, community, because I really don't think that there's much of a true atheist community. Atheism answers a question. So if there's a community, you would have a broad range. I mean, you would be accepting of the bigoted atheists, all of that. We have little subset communities. And so speaking to our subset community, I would just say, like, we should include as many atheists as we can in that. As many Black and brown atheists, as many women atheists, as many ex-Muslims, as many ex-Buddhists, whatever we could do to bring in these people and get these different voices. Philosophy, no philosophy, Bible knowledge, no Bible knowledge. But the more atheists we just have speaking out, I think is really going to reflect the demographic in the country. We are, yes, we're one of the biggest minorities. We're one of the smallest percentages demographically there is. But at the same time, we're the fastest growing demographic in the country. And we should be inclusive of all of these new people that we come in, as long as they can be tolerable. You know, if you're just a straight out racist, well, I don't want you in my subset of atheism.
Yeah, and 100% agree, and agree so much that I'll share this. Just the other night, I won't dox the individual, but I'll tell you what shows on. Justin with the Empathetic Atheist asked me to come on. They're doing like the Halfway to Hell celebration on their Halfway to 666 on subs. So we went on there. Apostate and I went on there, and there's a young man on there, and he's a fireball, and I think he's newer to the atheist community, is what we were talking about, and he has the charisma. He speaks very, very well. Great energy, and Pasta and I were talking about him, and so we jumped back on the back. Asked Justin if we could jump back on the show, and his presentation sucked. His camera sucked. You know, his mic sucked. He didn't have green screen or all the nice fancy stuff that that I'm sure he wanted to be able to be on there. So we went back on there, and we got his address, and we are buying and sending him a mic, headphones, green screen.
Oh, dude, I saw his reaction. I was watching and saw his reaction to that. You guys are really, really awesome for that. He seems really intelligent. Like he's going to be an asset to this community. I completely agree with you. Oh, yeah. But to see his reaction, I had to work for everything I got. I had to spend extra hours at work. It was a classical moment. You guys are really awesome people.
No, thank you. And I'm just glad that Pasta and I are in the place that we can do that, and help other people. But the reason I said it wasn't even necessarily for a pat on our back. It's to further your point, Knock, that we got, either put our money where our mouth is or put our actions where our mouth is. And if we're going to say we want the atheist volume to go up and we want the voice to get louder, guess what? We have to be the ones to do it. And that's part of us completely agreeing with that sentiment. Is if we see a voice like that, let's help them because we don't know what his or her situation is, and if we can send them a mic and a camera and a headset, and now all of a sudden they look and sound better, man, let's do it. What's a couple $100 to help make this thing go up?
No, wait a minute. Let me see if I understand this right. You guys actually, out of the kindness of your heart, did something charitable without having a God belief behind it?
That's correct, sir.
Okay. That's interesting. All right. So look, I think maybe we're at the point here where we can start wrapping things up. I always miss my co-host. I'm thankful that Knock was here because he was able to, fill in some of the time and ask some of the questions that I didn't think to ask. But it always seems like things always go smoother when Faye's here. But, I hope she's out there listening, and we love you, Faye. And so now it's the time. Oh, go ahead. No,
I was just to say, Faye, get better. You're feeling better.
And so now it's the time of the show where we get a chance to chill and talk about upcoming things, and tell us again, about your channel or anything that you have coming up, Oz, that you'd like folks to know about.
No, thank you. And again, guys, thanks for having me on. Love the conversation. Great conversation. And appreciate your guys' time. But yeah, we are T.A.R.T. So that is short for the Atheist Roundtable. And this is a platform, like I said, for just open discussion, and we have a format of what, how, why. So what's your story? What's your religious view, or what's your, title, I guess. And then how did you arrive to that destination? So were you born into it? Did you get saved at youth camp? Whatever. And then finally, why? Why do you believe what you believe? And the why, we get down to, again, the epistemic questions and trying to find the root, the root of, or what props up that belief. And the best way, if you want to be on the show, is just email me directly. That's austin@tart.live. But you can find us everywhere. We have a website, tart.live. We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. All of us act a fool on TikTok, and then always, we have 5. As far as like day to day full time. What we call it, if we were running a business, but 5 full-time guys. So, myself as the host, but then Pasta Mike, he is the director, producer, everything behind the scenes. So all the beautiful stuff you see on screen and the segments cutting in and out, that's Pasta. And then Jesus Mike, he's the brains of the operation. He's much smarter than I am. But he also looks like Jesus, so that's cool for the channel. But super smart, and then just Jeff. He and Murder Shed Steve really have their hands on a lot of things behind the scenes. But I always like to give them a shout out because they see my people see my face on here and they think it's just me. If I didn't have those 4 guys, this would be a shit show. So.
Well, and we'll get an opportunity in the future to hear about T.A.R.T again, because I'm going to have to reach out and have those other gentlemen on the show as well, or maybe bring all of you over here for one of Nakasuchi's streams or something.
Yeah, well, I was thinking, John, we could definitely do a horse and bear stream and try to set up something where we have all of you guys and really talk about your show. I know one of the things that we want to do more of, I want to get back into, is interviewing atheists and Christians alike. If you're a decent Christian, you have a good channel, you're having a good conversation. I want to interview. I don't want to debate you or have a conversation with you. I just want to interview you. And you're out there. I met Justin Coe. He's a fantastic human being. Yeah, we have a lot of disagreements, but he's a great human being willing to have great conversation. And that's all I really ask for.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's what we want.
And so, Knock, what do you have coming up that you want people to know about?
I'm going to try to get back into some NIFB coverage this week. I try to get all that icky taint coverage out of the way this week. In contact with James, and my challenge is out there. So I see that John Maddox is in the chat now. John, I have people asking me to give you a nickname like I gave Icky Taint. I'm not going to do that because I'm not going to be hyperbolic with you. You've never really truly shown me any disrespect. But just tell your boy to come on the show. I'll be fair. I offered to find a Christian moderator for him since he's so concerned about that. But he needs to come on my show and answer why he's trying to paint me as an anti-Semite. So if I could make that happen this week, that would be the height of the week.
Okay. And, we just, this past Thursday, we had an open room with 10 people on because StreamYard has now increased the number of people you can have on. So we had kind of like an old school hangout, and that's something that me and Knock are going to try and do on a regular basis, maybe once a month, or if it becomes really popular, maybe more than once a month. And as far as what I have coming up, of course, next week we'll be right back here. We're going to be joined by Kyle Curtis, another former Christian. And then after that, we'll get back to talking to some ex-Muslim folks. I don't have my schedule here in front of me, or I would give a shout out to who's coming on future broadcasts. And then next week, I'm thinking about for the next episode of John Learns New Stuff. I'm thinking I've recently met some new atheists, some new female atheists that were kind enough to follow me. And I have some other female atheist friends that I think I'm going to put a stream together and have all female atheists on and hear from the female perspective of atheism. And I'm sure they'd have a lot to teach me. But I want to thank everybody for showing up. A lot of people in the chat today. We're going back and forth. We appreciate you. Please share this video. Please tell people about this channel. Please, when we get done here, I'm going to go feed my elderly parents lunch, and then I'll get back on the computer and I'll get all that information in the video description. Please, Oz, when you get out of here, DM me any links that you want folks to know about as far as from your channel or any social media and stuff like that. And please come back and look at the video description for the links to the petition we were talking about. There's a lot of Muslims in China right now being persecuted, being killed, being put in basically concentration camps. And as I said at the top of the show, yes, we are atheists. We don't believe in God. We believe there's a lot of bad ideology coming out of religion. But we all care about people. And whatever your beliefs are, you should not have to go through what these Muslims in China are going through right now. And we want not only the British government, but we want all governments to sanction China, to pressure China to stop these abhorrent practices. So thank you for being here on the Apostate Alliance. This is where you can be free to not believe, and we will see you next Sunday.